The food, the music, the vibe. Kick off your summer at the Ohio Black Expo Riverfront Culture Fest. Tell your friends, share with family. There's no other place to be Memorial Day weekend. Celebrate Black excellence.
Plus 2 concerts featuring Tidra Moses, Talib Kweli, and Jay Rawls, the one and only Marsha Ambrosius, and more.
Experience the African diaspora at its finest. So go to OhioBlackExpo.com for tickets, updates, and more. Visit OhioBlackExpo.com. That's OhioBlackExpo.com.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or one in training? You've got the vision, but do you have the right partner to build your brand, your team, and your future online and off? At CPRfirm.com, we offer expert consulting, financial guidance, and life coaching because we believe in doing life with our clients. After all, what is it for a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Founded by Callan Cash Coleman, we help our clients not only succeed, but plan to retire rich. Your business deserves the best. Start building your legacy today at CPRfirm.com.
Finding the right real estate professional can be challenging. I'm broker Melissa Wilson. I'm knowledgeable in all aspects of the real estate process. So whether you're looking to buy new or an existing home or have a commercial need, I'm here to help.
Make sure you pick up my 2 books that's in Amazon right now. The first one is Passive-Aggressive Racism and the System of White Supremacy. And I talk about in that particular book how the system of white supremacy really runs on our daily lives here in America. In our latest book, 7 Steps to Decolonize the Mind, we go through those steps to try to deprogram you from the system of white supremacy. Make sure you can pick up those books on Amazon.com.
I have the baddest in the building, the Zira Oma.
I don't spend my money at the club.
Whose money is it?
People come there to spend money for me. So I get paid to be there. I don't pay anything. Everything I want is provided for me.
Take us through your background.
I'm a model, actress, and event host from Zimbabwe.
Baby, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Christ.
There's slay queens who literally dress up, look good, smell good. Then there's people who actually are like used to the lifestyle, grew in the lifestyle. I think it's just the way I dress. And then I gotta do what I gotta do.
Watch Slay Queen only on the African Diaspora News Channel app.
What if I told you there's a news platform made just for us? Unfiltered, unapologetic, telling our stories from Africa and the diaspora. The African Diaspora News Channel app keeps you informed and empowered from wherever you are at any time. Don't just watch, join the movement. Download the app now and stay connected to the news that matters.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining us on the stream this evening. It is March 19th, ladies and gentlemen, March 19th. And tonight we're going to talk about Donald Trump. And he has signed an executive order we need to kind of talk about here, just a summary of it, about federal contracting. And they're saying that it's very significant because it could possibly open up the door to segregation with people who have federal contracts. I would say up front, bring it. If that's what you want, bring it. And I explain to you why I say go ahead and bring it. If you good folks out there want segregation back, understand, I'll take it. And I'll explain to you why I take your segregation. I'm going to give you a case for it, too. So I hope everybody is doing good. I got some news about something that happened, and I want to, show some of this that happened to someone and just kind of go into it. But, hey, you know how it is on this platform. So toward the end, we'll switch over to the app, at the end, and we'll go into that and just kind of discuss some things about, what we find out about today that Juan Gail shared with me. But let's go ahead on and get into this situation with Trump, because I know that's what you're here for. Let's go ahead on and get into that. Let me switch my screen real quick. All right. I hope everybody doing good. And as y'all coming in, we're going quick. We're going fast into this. All right. The Trump administration removes a ban on segregated facilities in federal contracts. What did happen here? Is Trump trying to say bring back segregation? Is he want the black only or colored water fountain and the white only? Is that what he's trying to bring back? What are they saying here, ladies and gentlemen? Let's kind of look at it and we'll go through it. So they say that the administration of the President Trump has removed the explicit ban on segregated facilities like waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains for federal contractors. They say a memo issued by the U.S. General Services Administration showed. It said the memo was issued last month, but media outlets took note of it Tuesday. It said after a report from NPR. Now, they say that since taking office on January 20, Trump has taken multiple steps aimed at dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government and private sector. It said in one such executive order, it said Trump revoked executive policies dating as far back as 1965 on equal employment opportunities, environmental actions designed to protect communities of color, and workforce balancing efforts by federal contractors based on race, gender, and religion. It said a 1965 action aimed to end discriminatory practices in hiring and employment on part of the U.S. government contractors. The February 15th memo said it was making changes prompted by that executive order from Trump. Before we continue to go, let's go ahead on and get into this. Let me get to my screen. Now, they said, let me make sure before I switch. It said waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains for federal contractors. So if you have a federal contract, according to what they're saying here, you can say you in the waiting room, you don't want no black folks or whoever else. If you got a restaurant, you got a federal contract, you can say you can discriminate. And if you got a federal contract with drinking fountains, you can discriminate. Now, what some people are saying, they say, well, this can open up the door to even greater discrimination, right? It may start off a federal contracting, but who's to say it don't be your local mall? It may be your local restaurants. It may be bathrooms in certain places. It may be hospitals. It could be whatever to segregate, us. Trump is going back to that. What is going on? Why is he trying to do all of this? See, if y'all would have voted for the Democrats, this is what they're going to say. If you'd have voted for the Democrats, see, Kamala wouldn't have done any of this. You're 100% right. She wouldn't have. But let me tell you what Kamala would have done. Brought in about 20 million more migrants and then stack them on top of us, give them our reparations money, and we would be underneath the migrants at that point. Because they'll be so much above us, and that's what they was on pace to do, bring in another 10, 20 million more. Now, let's go back to the time of the civil rights movement. Let's talk about it just in essence. Black folks, when they was out here fighting, they was fighting for equality. They wasn't fighting for integration. That wasn't really the sticking point. It was equality. So you remember in America, they said we had separate but equal. But really, we didn't have separate and equal. We had separate and unequal, right? If black folks truly had a separate but equal, like we got the same government resources, we got the water was the same, the opportunities was the same, the education was the same, everything was the same the folks was getting, we were just separated, I promise you, they would have never had a civil rights movement. when black folks were getting third and fourth rate books, when the folks getting the latest knowledge, that's a problem. Because black folks educationally would be behind constantly to the folks. And when you don't have enough education, you're going to be behind, right? So let's say if some of these good businesses out here is owned by the folks, you go there one day and there's a sign up there that says whites only. Let me tell you why I would welcome that sign. You say, what? You would welcome that sign? Yes. Let me tell you why. Phil, are you crazy? Why would you say that? Listen to me. I would rather you put up a sign that says whites only than follow me in the store. Because your actions show that you really want whites only anyway. We barely go in the store and you're calling the cops on us. I'd rather you just put the sign up. That way you let me know where I should not go. And that way I can go somewhere else that want me, that welcome me. Right? But here's the kicker part. If you folks, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. I promise you're not going to get the reaction you think you're going to get. You're not going to get it. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. If y'all decide to ever do that, now we talking about federal contracting here, but I'm saying if y'all ever decide to do it, you will spark the greatest business creation, innovation, and greatest support out of black people within our own community like you've never seen before. That would motivate black people to shop with each other, do business with each other, and finally circulate the black dollar in the black community. The moment one of y'all do that, black folks remove the trillions of dollars that we spend every year out of y'all businesses and put it right back into our own and in our own communities. That would be the biggest financial mistake y'all could have ever made. You understand? If you told us today we couldn't go to the same bathroom with y'all, that would be a good thing. Go ahead and do it because our bathrooms will be cleaner. I know that much. Listen, I never forget when my child told me, and I've heard this before, but when my child told me this, that a woman went in the bathroom, the part of the folks' community, and when she said that lady went in the restroom and didn't wash her hands and left out, and she told me about that, I never forgot that. And that was more than once. The last time she told me we was in South Africa and she told me that. So like I told y'all, the culture is the same everywhere. But not washing your hands, for them during the pandemic, had to tell y'all to wash your hands, literally teach you how to wash your hands. Listen, they were given descriptions in the pandemic, how to wash your doggone hands. That's something that we should have learned at home, if anything, in kindergarten. Washing your hands with soap and water, good hot soap and water. I mean, hot as you could take it, warm. But that's something we should have learned a long time ago, right? And they literally had to do a infograph, how to teach you to wash your hands. Because the first wave of the pandemic was really spread through the lack of hygiene, right? Wasn't it spread like that? And then Keisha over here say, listen, I've seen videos of them saying they didn't even know how to wash their own behind. One of them was saying that she was in the military and it took black women to teach her how to actually take a proper bath. I'm going to tell you why black folks have to still teach you how to take a proper bath, because if you anywhere around some FBAs, we're not going to let you be stank around us too long. We're going to say, hold on. What are you doing in the bathroom? Because clearly you, like my grandfather said, you jumping over the tub, and that was the expression like you didn't take a bath. Clearly you're jumping over the tub. What are you doing? How are you washing? What's going on? Matter of fact, can I go in there with you and see what you're doing? We all women here. Can I just see how you, because listen, and FBAs had to teach, and listen, FBAs taught them how to bathe long time ago. Okay? On the plantation, even go all the way back to the Moors. Go all the way back, look it up in history what I'm talking about. All the way back to the Moors. The Moors went conquering parts of Europe. They came in there like, what in the hell? All this funk and stink? What's going on? Oh, hell no. Y'all need to bathe. And the Moors had bathed twice a day. That's how the Moors bathe, in the morning and the evening. The funny part is, that's how I bathe. I do 2 baths a day. I have to. It's just, I don't feel right. You get up in the morning, you go take your shower, you feel great starting your day. At night, when you want to go to bed, you want to get that hot shower. And to me, it has to be hot. Sorry, it has to be hot. Get that good hot shower in, and you lay in your bed. Oh, you feel so relaxed, right? You feel so relaxed when that happens. But the Moors practice two times a day. And the Moors start pushing that when they was just say, hey, y'all gonna take some baths around here. You understand? So black folk would not have an issue or a problem. I don't think they would in this modern time. Now, of course, some black people are like, oh my God, no. But I think the folks have more of an issue with it than anything else, right? But let's go back and continue. We're gonna get more into this. Let's go. All right. So it said the memo stated, it said when issuing new solicitations or contracts, civil agencies should no longer include the provision and clause about the prohibition of segregated facilities. Now we can go to that. It said, what are they saying? Federal and state laws still outlaw discrimination, which they do, and segregation. And while the memo's step was symbolic, it's symbolic. I want to let y'all know it's symbolic. The 1964 Civil Rights Act is not abolished. Only Congress can do that. It says civil rights advocates noted it is part of a trend with Trump's policymaking. They said that any step that may give the perception of turning back the clock on racial segregation was not welcome. They said while segregation is still illegal, this change sends a clear message, civil rights attorney Ben Crump said. Now, it said rights advocates say measures Trump is trying to dismantle aim to uplift marginalized groups and address the continued efforts of historical and generational inequity. Trump and his allies defend his actions by saying his orders are to remove what they call discrimination against other Americans, including white people and men. That's what they say, and that's the narrative they've been running for a while. Oh well, you know, all these laws that have to protect black people, affirmative action, and all these different laws, Fair Housing Act, all of this. Oh, it's discriminating against white people. This is what they're saying. Well, why would you have a Fair Housing Act for? Let's go back to the intention of Fair Housing Act. When black folks tried to get a home, they were getting denied for the simple color of our skin. So they say, okay, we got to come up with the Fair Housing Act because black people was not getting their just due. When it came to affirmative action, the reason why that happened, when black people put their application, it was widely noted that they were putting a black stamp on it and throwing it away or throwing it to the side, letting people know that's a black person that applied. So we don't want to hire them. So the original affirmative action was to make sure FBAs could get a job. Later, after Kennedy died, Lyndon Johnson went and added that one thing in there saying women. And when they added women, that grifted and grafted white women into affirmative action. And we know the rest is history. Affirmative action was changed. It was meant to make sure FBAs could have gainful employment, but it started being a big benefit to white women. Just like DEI was a big benefit to white women. So let's get to the Democrats. So the Democrats will say this. Well, this is why we told y'all to vote for Kamala Harris. Because, see, Kamala Harris wouldn't have done this. Kamala Harris, you know, she had a plan for black men, too. And Kamala Harris was going to lift everybody up. And she was just such a great person to have. And enough of y'all, you know, sat it out. And that's why she didn't win the election. Well, Democrats, let me respond to that. Maybe we wouldn't have Donald Trump doing the thing right now. And maybe Democrats would be in office like forever and Republicans could never get elected if you would have gave us our reparations. Think about that. The Democrats are not in office because they chose not to be in office. I told y'all many times before, if the Democrats would have gave us reparations, I would be the biggest Democrat cheerleader. I would be encouraging my audience to go vote for the Democrats. At that point, I would show up at all the Democrat meetings. I'm like, hey, Democrats, whatever you need me to do to help you get elected, I'm here for you. Because y'all did reparations in the form of cash payments. That's the least I can do for the Democrats for helping my community out. Democrats, you have been getting free votes for 60 years, and then when Trump do something, or whether it's symbolic or whether it's an actual thing, you come up and say, yeah, you see, look how racist he is. Well, y'all was the first racist because y'all didn't want to give us our, listen, the reason why I take more issue to Democrats, the Democrats had the votes for 60 plus years. They have no problem for these so-called, and I say so-called, Native Americans, because there are black folks who are Native American too. And these black people who are Native American FBAs, they're not getting the Native American set-asides. If you go to most of those quote-unquote civilized tribes that's getting all the money, you don't see no FBAs anywhere. There were some FBAs who were Native American. That is the truth. Some, not everybody were, but some of us that's in our group were Native American. Yes, they were. If black people are the original people, we're the original Native Americans. You can't believe that we are the original people in one instance, but we're not Native American? Like, come on now. We're native to the planet Earth. We are the native of all the Earth. We are didn't they show y'all that an African was the native of Europe, what they call it Cheddar Man? You have Africans was the native of Asia, of course, their continent. Africans been coming to this land long before then. When Columbus went to the Caribbean, he saw black folk when he went to the Caribbean. But these folks like to tell you that, oh, the only time that black folks was here was when they brought you through the transatlantic slave trade. Some of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. That's true. But there are black people already here. We're already on this land. That's just history. Black folks was from this land. It was in the area where Canada is at, all the way down Central America, South America. Black folks was everywhere. But they don't want to teach you that because they don't want to really expand how we are the oldest people on the planet. Our DNA is millions of years old. The folks is actually the youngest people on the planet. We're the oldest. So the Democrats never said that, hey, let's do a study about finding out all the FBAs who's Native American is missing out those set-asides. Because the moment that there was time to give set-asides, they quickly removed all the FBAs out of Native American tribes. And it's funny how, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, have no problem giving these Native Americans free tax, no taxes, land, money. They have no problem giving it to them. Matter of fact, reparations can look just like that. You don't have to create a new program. You can say, hey, we're going to model reparations exactly what the Native Americans get. We're going to give. Do you know the majority of the land in this country is not even used and it's owned by the federal government? Do you know that? The federal government can literally say, hey, FBAs, all this over here is going to be your land because it's federal land and nobody owns. This is going to be your land right here. We're going to let y'all going to do exactly like the Native Americans. Y'all going to have y'all sovereignty right there, like the Native Americans. We're going to make y'all tax-free. You still be citizens, but you're going to make you tax-free. We're not going to police your area. You police your own, like the Native Americans do. You police your own area. That's y'all running how y'all want to run it. That's y'all area, right? We're going to give y'all money every month. Because I'm sorry, the Trail of Tears didn't last 250 years. It didn't. Slavery lasted 250 years. And when you ask these folks, Democrat or Republican, if reparations would break the country, how is it that Native American set-asides didn't break the country? How? These are people that you're not collecting taxes off of. Why? You guys are giving them money and notice, I want you to notice, none of the folks, Democrat or Republican, talk about how all the money that's going to these so-called Native Americans is affecting the economy. Oh, America's doing bad in the economy and all of that. Why we ain't cutting that then? I think they've been paid enough, to be honest with you. I mean, they can keep their land. I'm not saying take their land from them, but tax-free status need to end, and any government money they get need to end. I think they got enough. It's just that simple. LBAs need their reparations. You need to be paying reparations for the next 250 years. And LBAs actually would do something right with that money. They actually would. And if they want to trick it off, that's their business. They want to go to the club. They want to go get them a couple of sexy red girlfriends with their reparations money. That's fine. I have no problem with that. If that's what he want, that's what this brother want to do is reparations money. Go get him a sexy red. Then hey, I guess this is reparations. But a lot of us won't do that. A lot of us will apply ourselves, and that's your greatest fear, is because you don't want black people to really compete with you. But see, I don't get too upset with it. You say, Jane said we was on that trail too. Yeah, we were. Sure we were. But we haven't got a dime. You know, when I hear black people tell me, oh, we were Native Americans, I'm like, yes, historically you're 100% right. But so some of these so-called Native American tribes enslaved FBAs too. Some of these so-called Native American tribes was out here hunting down escaped slaves too. Some of them were. Don't start with that Cherokee. They owe too. They owe. Oh, when it's time to start getting that money, they kicked out all the FBA Native Americans out the doggone tribe. So they wouldn't get no money. And all the folks start coming in. See, if the folks could figure out a way to do what they did on the Dawes rolls. So they put out, you know, they put out the Dawes roll, and that's what when they say a $5 Indian, it's because the folks are paying $5 to get on that roll to say they're Native American. Now, let's say about reparations. Let's say reparations like right there. The folks will probably support it if they can finesse their way on the list to get reparations. You understand what I'm saying? That's why the language and everything has to be so tight, because the folks will support it if they can get their hands on it. I'm like this. If your ancestors were not a slave, if you're not a descendant of a slave, if you have not identified as Black American all your life, if it's not on your birth certificate, then no, you don't qualify. It's just that simple. And most of these folks that came here are immigrants. They don't like to talk about that, but a lot of them are immigrants that came here, European immigrants. So just like you talk about immigrants from the diaspora don't qualify. Well, these folks for sure don't qualify because a lot of them are immigrants. But if they want to bring back segregation, if they want to bring it back, the Democrats wouldn't do nothing about it. What the Democrats would do, they'll probably try to use that to get reelected if they was to do something like that, which that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. If America was to actually bring back segregation, then America's standing in the world would be done. Because how could you rail against apartheid South Africa, prior to 1994, where apartheid on paper ended, but yet you turn right back around and do it? Like, America would literally lose out on everything. You know what I'm saying? And the funny part is, a lot of folks wouldn't even want to go in the white-only section. Let me tell you about the folks. A lot of folks won't tell you this, but they want to be where you at. They won't tell you that, but they want to be where you at. They want to be where you eat at. They want to be where you hang out and have fun at. They want to even be the places that you travel to. Wherever you at, that's what it is. If they put up, let's say, a whites only sign at a particular restaurant, and all the Black people say, oh, cool, I'm not going there. There's a lot of white people that won't go either. Because they're like, oh, no, I'm not going there. Right? Where's the Black people eating at? I want to go over there. Now, with the situation with Trump, let me tell you, there's a lot of white people that voted for Trump because some black people supported Trump. Do you know that? And say, oh, well, I was kind of going to support him, but black people actually supporting Trump? More of them supporting him this time than last time? Okay, well, I guess I don't feel bad voting for him then, because black people supporting him. They're not, saying like he's the villain, the devil this time, like they did 2020, right? That's a lot of white folks think like that. Let me tell you something else. We just talking, just hypothetical. If all of a sudden black people start saying, hey, man, we're going to leave America and just go to Africa, man. We can't be here no more. It's this happening. We leave it. And if black folks was to leave and go to Africa, do you know them white people I'm talking about would be on the plane right with you going over there? Why? Because they follow you everywhere. Is nowhere in the earth, I've learned this, is nowhere in the earth you can go, they're not going to follow. You can go somewhere in America, they're right there with you. You can go to Latin America, they're there with you. You can go to Africa, the Caribbean, Asia. If a bunch of us go anywhere, they're coming. They're coming. I'm telling you, they're coming. Okay, so you said that more black-owned and operated hospitals and transportation systems, that would happen if actual segregation would come back. That would happen because that would force black people at that point to spend our money with our own. That would bring the money and the capital that we need to open up our hospital system. We got a lot of doctors. They got private practice that maybe will love a hospital, or some nurse practitioners or whatever. If we all just was forced to go to our doctors, our nurses, could you imagine they pull that with the NFL and say, oh, well, this is a whites only league. Man, the NFL would be done tomorrow. Same thing with the NBA. They would be going bankrupt tomorrow. Even though the NBA is not the NBA what it used to be, it'll still be going bankrupt tomorrow. These people have gotten too much money off of black folk to go back to segregation. It's not even a moral thing with them. It's a money thing. They would lose billions and probably trillions of dollars to tell black folks, well, you can't come here because it's whites only. Now, let me give you the kicker. What they're probably not ready for. What if they institute the segregation and you got your signs up? But what if the sign it goes up says blacks only? That's the sign that would send them crazy, right? Because we don't live because back in that time period of segregation, they still would come into our establishments, right? They would still do that. But you fast forward to 2025, and if they was to do that, good well, brothers and sisters, like, oh, okay, I can't go to Chili's no more. Okay, cool. No problem. And then all of a sudden you start seeing them signs go up. And then they were like, huh? I can't come? Like, yeah, we can't go in your stuff, so you ain't coming in here. Buy bread. Go over there and get your mayonnaise sandwiches over there. I mean, that's the food you're going to eat. Go get your mayo over there. We cool over here. Well, we got enough customer base. We good. And I'm going to tell you what else would really piss them off. If you have a sign that say, everyone's welcome except the folks, that would really get them, right? Oh, that would really get them mad. Like, you mean to tell me everybody else can come in this black business, but we can't? Well, you said we couldn't go in yours, bruh. No. You can't sit up here and discriminate against us, and we can't say, we can't do retaliatory discrimination. There we go. Because one thing I've learned about the folks, they don't respect you unless, like my grandfather said, you give them a taste of their own medicine. In other words, whatever you do to me, I do to you. So you discriminate against me in business. Okay, let's say like the segregation. Then I do the same thing back because it's only in kind. Now, if you take down your discrimination, I take down mine. That's the only way they get it. That's the only way they're going to understand you. So, Trump, Republicans, do what you want. We still not mad. Listen, we're not getting out in the streets. We're not protesting. Them days are done. I think we protested enough. We've gotten arrested enough. What are we going out there to protest for? In federal contracting, black people don't get the majority of federal contracts. We get a sliver of federal contracts, a sliver. A small amount of us get it. I'm not really for fighting for anything that we don't get a good chunk of. I would fight for something if we was getting 25% of the federal contracts. I'm willing to fight at that point because I'm like, wait a minute, we getting a lot, so we don't want this to go away. But the majority of us not even getting federal contracts. A lot of us don't even know how to get them. Let's call it what it is. Yeah, you can say, well, you can research, you can hire people, you can get education. Sure you can. Sure you can. But let's call it what it is. The majority of people are like, what you mean a federal contract? How do I get that? What do I get into? And most people that get them, they have certain levels of education and certain access and whatever the case may be, right? Yes, I've talked to other business owners, some black ones that they've gotten federal contracts or whatever, but still, that's not going to be the majority of FBAs. So I wouldn't say let's depend on the federal contract for anything. I say let's create our own businesses, create our own jobs. I would say that. But now I'm going to tell you something else is going on. Let's talk about Elon Musk here for a minute. It came to me one day about Elon Musk and even some of the moves he's making and probably what he's saying in Trump's ear. So you remember Elon Musk grew up in apartheid South Africa. Y'all have to, when y'all see him, he's an apartheid baby. He wasn't born after 1994. That's something that y'all need to think about it. Well, what you say, quick 504, and shout out to New Orleans. You say they're so hooked on our food, music, and culture, they will go crazy if we keep to ourselves. Sports and Olympics would be boring AF. Yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, we are the salt of the earth. If we aren't the salt, then you have the folks, right? And we already know what was going on there. But Elon Musk, see, he saw the transition from apartheid South Africa to, Mandela becoming the president, ANC ruling the country and all of that. He's seen the transition. He's seen a lot, even though they have a lot of privilege in South Africa. Yes, they do. But they don't have the privilege of like they had during apartheid. It makes sense? And because they don't have the privilege that they had during apartheid, it's been greatly minimized, the apartheid. Okay? I would believe Elon Musk is telling Trump and all them other ones up there, hey, I saw what happened when we lost power and in us being the minority. And when we lost power and we became the minority, all the black people, they just took advantage of us. Look those laws in South Africa right now. They're going to take the white people's land, and look, they doing the white people in South Africa. That's going to happen in America if you sit up here and let them get in control, or you see all these different immigrants. There's these different colors outside of us. You let them be in here. That's what's going to happen to this country because they know most of the children right now under 18 is every other group except them. They're actually the minority with children under the age of 18. They're already the minority, and they know it. If you take away the finessing of the white category, like take away Hispanics being called white, take away Arabs being called white or North African. A lot of times they want to classify them as white. Start removing all those white, honorary white categories and just say, no, the real white people, European people, right? They're descendants from Europe. Let's count them. They will be, if you look at it, they will already be a minority. They know they're a minority because they're not even having children like that. They are a minority. And globally, they're not having children. But Africans having a bunch of children, and Caribbeans, FBA's having children. The black people in Latin America are having children. The Asians having children. That's the two groups that's having a lot of children, Asians and Africans. The diaspora is having all the kids. So they're concerned right now. They're concerned. And in China, they're growing every day. And China has so much innovation over there. Like, really, these people cannot compete. They don't really, they listen, if Elon Musk was so smart and his EVs were so better, why are y'all blocking out the Chinese EVs, the BYD? Look up those EVs. Listen, I don't even like electric vehicles. But if I had access to buying a BYD from China, give me that. I want that thing. Boy, they get longer mileage. I got to see, and I think I showed y'all that, where if you run low on the charge, they don't give you a charging station. They change out your whole battery. You go automatically back in. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes. They pull your back. It's all automatic. Pull your battery off, put a new battery on, boom, you gone. No charging station. They just change your battery for you. That's what they do. I'm like, boy, that's some cold work. That's cold work right there. I said, I like that. But you still dealing with a charging station over here. They don't want to compete with China. Because they claim that they so much better and all that. Well, prove it. Compete with the Chinese. Prove it. But we know from living over here that they're not going to compete. If they can't and the reason why we don't have Chinese vehicles here, because they put 100% tariff on them. So they can't come here. So you got to be like a rich person if you really want a Chinese vehicle. You have to go literally buy it, pay the 100% tariff for it, and keep it here. I think it's the CEO of Ford had talked about he got a Chinese, I think Shima or whatever that car is that he had got. And he said that he loved that car. He said he didn't want to give it up. He don't want to give it up. So these people, like, they cannot compete. They can't. They have to keep this system exactly where it is, where it's a rigged system and sabotaging us as FBAs and anybody else. So I'm telling you, Tesla is trash compared to BYD. It's trash. I mean, I wouldn't have bought a Tesla anyway. It's even before Elon Musk came out with that dude is the stupidest guy I ever seen in my life. He's stupid. You say, oh, he's smart, he's rich. He's dumb. There ain't no way I'm gonna ruin my company and reputation. He come out there with all that crazy talking, and he's retweeting Nazi stuff. He's retweeting the N-word and all kind of things he's retweeting, and he don't realize that his customer base are Democrats. That's his customer base. It wasn't Republicans, it was Democrats. That's why I say them people claim they're so smart, but common sense would say you don't piss off your customer base. You just don't do it. You say you're happy with your Chevy Malibu? Hey, that yeah. Lisa said they say it's too weaker to compete. Yeah, that's why they always sabotage us. They sabotage us forever because they can't compete with us. That's why they blocked us out of sports, block us out of finance, block us out of business, block us out of this, block us out of that. They always blocking us because they can't compete with us. Every time that we get on an equal playing field to compete, they lose. And they know that. So they say, oh, well, let me listen, you can only sabotage and rig for so long. And the bad part about it, they have made it worse because they've trained us to be 10 times better than them just to get an ordinary job. So what happens when you lose that system where you can't rig it anymore and you have to be on merit? When it goes to merit, listen, true merit, they won't get jobs. They won't be able to compete on merit. So I hope, institute merit. Let's see how far that's going to go for you. I definitely want to see that. For sure. Now, ladies and gentlemen, definitely appreciate you coming in. Now, those of you who are on the ADNC app or watching the app, we're going to go ahead on and shut this down here. And we're going to continue our conversation on the app because I want to show y'all something and get into a conversation. Of course, we're not going to say certain things here or show certain pictures here, at least on YouTube, but I need to kind of go into something I found out today. So if you're already on the ADNC app, you just go ahead and continue with the stream. If you haven't, join us on the app. You can download it and everything from the app stores and things like that And let's continue the conversation over there. But thank y'all for listening. We'll watch.